Yes.
Okay, I'll call the Charter Commission meeting of Wednesday, July 10th, 2024 to order. First order of business is to call the roll. I will call roll.
Rod Axtell,
Here.
present. Ronald Barnes,
Here.
present. Bo Kohler. Hussein Dahir.
Here.
Here. John Eagle.
Here.
Present. Kathy Gustafson.
Present.
Present. Cynthia Hunt.
I think they emailed me and said she thought she'd be late. She was at a doctor appointment.
Right.
So we can't excuse that she doesn't.
Excused. Ronald Lindell. Present. Jamil Masruja.
Present.
Present. Jeannie McGovern.
Present.
Present. Emily Melby.
Present.
Present. Mandala Faorijo. Not present. Steve Peterson.
Here.
Present. John Stanley.
Here.
Present. Mark Thorson.
Here.
Present.
Roll. How many people are present then?
11.
Okay, thank you. So we have a quorum. So the next item on the agenda is item 3.1. And are you the one who's going to present?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me okay?
Can you talk a little louder, please?
Try.
Thank you.
So we have a rather ministerial task before us tonight. I thought it would be helpful to lay the groundwork and background a little bit about what the process is. I know some of you have experienced a charter amendment before and know that there's multiple ways to amend the charter. There's one particular way that's before us right now that we're going to be talking about. And I have a couple of slides to explain that. I want to make sure before we get started that everybody has a copy of the replacement. Everybody on the Charter Commission has a copy of the replacement resolution for the packet. We received some additional petition pages, and so we wanted to amend the charter to reflect, or excuse me, the resolution to reflect that. They're at the back table. So it would be a replacement page for the for the agenda packet. All right. So this is an explanation of where we are in the process. We're at the green language here. So the process is in state law, chapter 410.12. Like I mentioned, there are several different ways to amend the charter. July 1st, the city clerk, who is seated over here, Jamie Hansen, she's our newest city clerk, and you're welcome to introduce yourself after the meeting. She received a petition on July 1st and transmitted that to the recording secretary, Adrian. And then the chair was notified. The chair called this special meeting, and we're here tonight. As you recall, we amended our rules of procedure to allow us to meet more quickly. So we were able to get this all pulled together, which is good because tomorrow, assuming you all take action tonight, tomorrow Adrian will relay that to the city clerk. And then it'll be placed on the city council agenda for Monday night. And we could talk some more about what will happen next. But essentially, what you're doing tonight is ministerial. You're being asked to receive the petition and then start the process amongst us. So the petition pages are over there by Jamie. You can see the stack. And she can certainly provide more information if there are questions. But you are formally receiving the petition pages and passing them to the city council to take subsequent action. And in that action will include, among other things, directing the city clerk to verify the petition. All right, so here is an excerpt from the law. This is state law, Minnesota statute 41012, talking about amendments to the charter. It describes the process that we're engaged in here. And I wanted to provide this statutory section to you because it talks about the timing. July 11th was the last date that the city clerk could receive additional petition pages for this petition that you're receiving tonight. So unless there is a problem with the number of signatures, and we'll talk about that on the next slide, all of the petition pages have been received so far. This also sets the number of petitioners that need to be participating in this petition, and we'll get to that on the next slide.
Hey, Melissa.
Yeah.
You said July 11th, but then.
July 9th.
Slide said you were July 9th.
Thank you. July 9th, yesterday.
While we're on the previous slide, I have a question.
Yep.
Somewhere down in the text, it says that not only are we to receive it, but we're to forward it to the city council with our approval as to form and substance. When is it do we consider that?
That, Chair and members, I believe what you're referring to is the language further on down in the process, and that are in the potential process, and that's when a summary is used, and a summary was not used here. So when the charter is many pages, a summary approach can be taken. That was not the approach that was taken in this charter amendment. So that part of the statute is not relevant.
So why do we receive it at all?
Next slide. Because of the highlighted letters on here, the petition papers for proposed amendment shall be assembled and filed with the Charter Commission. That's what we're doing tonight. We're filing them with the Charter Commission.
Yeah, I understand that we're required to receive it.
Mm-hmm.
It says that. But what's the purpose of our receiving it if we have no option or no function
Mm-hmm.
other than to forward it to the city council, which incidentally is not in the wording at all.
So Chair and members, further on down, let me just check and see if I have a slide on this. So the first part of this slide, or this section, again, this is from state law, subdivision 3. So this second sentence is what's happening tonight. And then there are 10 days from now that the Charter Commission has to transmit it to the City Council. So it's going to happen on July 15th, but theoretically there are 10 days for it to be transmitted to the City Council. And then the city clerk is going to go through it line by line, each signature, and verify the petition meets the minimum requirement. It has a sufficient number, and that number is 2,109.
So to Ron's question, is the reason we're receiving is it starts that 10-day period? Is that why state law is set up that way? That's the question you're really asking, is why are we receiving?
Why are we here?
Correct, yes. There is a timeline, Chair members, in the state law that has to be followed. I can't read the minds of why the legislature decided to put this in there, but it often has timelines in state law about when things have to happen. You want to ensure that that the process stays on track, that things happen in a reasonable amount of time. As you'll hear later on in the presentation, elections are largely driven by time. Things have to happen within a certain amount of time. For example, in Hennepin County, ballots have to be printed. And it's a very hard deadline for when we have to get ballot language to the county. There's no wiggle room. And so a lot of the election law is backed up in time so that everybody has sufficient knowledge. Ballots can be printed, polling places can be identified, volunteers can be trained. There's a large infrastructure, and this is a part of that. My guess and suspicion as to why it has to come to the Charter Commission first is because it's a charter amendment. And you all are the Charter Commission. So it would make sense to me that you all would have the first chance to know about it.
but do nothing.
Well, you're receiving it, chair members, you're receiving it. You're getting the opportunity to ask questions and discuss what's happening and get information and then transmit it to the city council.
Without any comment?
Chair and members, you're certainly welcome to provide comment at the will of the chair.
That gets me back to form and substance. It seems to me that we have a purpose here, and it is to assess whether this is complying with form and substance to consistent with our charter. And further to make some recommendation to the council as to whether we think this is good for the city or not. Is that not appropriate?
Chair and members, I am not wanting to discourage your line of discussion, but I wonder if it might be informed by providing a bit more information about the substance of the amendment. And then perhaps, Chair, if you're okay with it, we could circle back to a discussion. In the short version, the short answer is, of course, you can always reach out to your city council member and express your concerns. But I want to be clear that the task before you tonight is largely ministerial.
Okay.
And chair members, so is the council at this point. The council, if the city clerk finds the petition to be sufficient and we determine that it's constitutional, then the city council will be able to set the form of the ballot. As a reminder, I know many of you know this, but as a reminder, it has to be a yes, no question. There are limits to how many words it can be. There are requirements about the clarity of the framing of the question. And the important thing that I want to make sure that you see here is that 51% of the votes have to be yes votes in order for it to be approved. So when preparing the question, the affirmative answer, or the sort of the 51% in favor is the yes that's counted. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so here is the language that is being petitioned to be amended into the city charter. It's these three sections of chapter 4 of the city charter. Next slide. So I thought it would be helpful to compare what the current charter has in it with what the petition has in it. So the current charter is on the far left, and then the petition is on the right. So 4.02 is essentially primaries. Ranked choice voting does not require a primary, and so that was removed when we developed ranked choice voting in the city. The petition to amend the charter puts that charter amendment, or excuse me, petition primary language back in. 4.04, we amended it as a city to make the language more durable and remove specific timelines because the specific dates are subject to change by the legislature. And we did not want to risk the potential for our charter to be out of compliance with or open to interpretation with state law. So we amended it to remove the specific dates and to refer to state law. So in 4.04 in our current charter, that language is there. In 4.04 of the petition to amend the charter, they're restoring that back and putting those specific dates back into the charter. In 4.07, this is the sort of the meat of ranked choice voting. It says we are going to elect people by ranked choice voting, which was a change that the voters decided upon previously. 4.07 of the petition to amend the charter removes that and replaces it with previous language. So let's roll to the next slide. I broke down each of the sections of the petition to amend the charter to explain to you what would happen. So in 4.02, if the charter amendment is approved by the voters, a primary would be required again in the city of Bloomington for municipal elections. In 4.04, the filing schedule would be specifically stated in the city charter. And if the charter amendment passes, we would likely be back before you to ask you to amend the charter to put back in that durable language. Obviously for something for you to discuss, but I didn't want to not say that out loud to you because we made a choice to do that. We think it's the right choice. We prefer to have that durable language in there. And we would be back before you if the charter amendment passes. And then the thing to know with regard to 407, if the charter amendment passes, we would have to go and amend the city code and remove the ranked choice voting sections of the city code and replace it with majority vote provisions. That's not charter amendment, that's a city code provision, but just wanted to let you all know that. All right. These are the next steps, and I've mentioned several of them already. And I'm open for questions.
Okay. So just to recap, we're here tonight because there needs to be kind of an end to the selection of traditions and the starting of the evaluation of the signatures and considering that. And so effectively this resolution kind of creates that line between those two periods of time, between when the petition is being circulated and when the city clerk's office starts to process the petition. And that creates a timeline for the clerk to go do that and then go to the city council with the results of that. And then the city council is responsible for that after that. Is that correct?
Chair members, that is accurate, yes. The resolutions are helpful to describe the time, the cadence of events that are happening and make sure that everybody understands what's happening procedurally as well as substantively. And so that's what the resolutions are doing at each step along the process.
And then one other question I had before I open it up to the commission. In state law, is there any duty or requirement or option for the charter commission to make any sort of evaluation of the petition prior to adopting this resolution? Are we basically required by state law to receive the petition and transmit it along in the form that it's in?
Chair and members, I do not see any authority in state law for you, the Charter Commission, to do any editing of the stack of petitions that are over there. The duty that I read of the Charter Commission in state law is for you to receive it and start the clock of verification and transmittal to the city council, setting the form of the, if you can go back a step, putting into motion all of these other subsequent events that need to happen.
With respect, so the agenda item is considering this resolution that under state law kind of puts the end to the collection of petition and begins this 10-day process. So at this point, I'll entertain questions related to the resolution and our obligations under that. Any questions?
Mr. Chair, is our motion in order?
Our motion is in order if there's no questions.
I would move that we receive the petition.
Second. So effectively, you're moving that this, the revised resolution be adopted.
Yes, correct.
Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing no discussion, roll call on this, or can we have a?
Chair, who was the second?
I think you were. Okay, thank you. Do we need a roll call on this, or can this just be a voice vote?
You can do a voice, Chair, you can do a voice vote unless you believe that you can't.
Yeah, I'll do a division if I don't. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Okay. Is there any other business before the? No. Hearing other.
So the city council doesn't have any authority either to do anything but forward, verify its efficacy according to the rules and and make or to get it on the ballot. Is that correct?
Chair, Adrian, could you go back a couple of slides? I'm sorry, this keyboard isn't working. Stop right there. Chair members, this section of state law describes the role of the council and clerk at this next stage. So the clerk is going to verify the sufficiency of the petition.
Sure.
And then the council will need to make the decision of whether the petition is constitutional. Can it be put on the ballot? So if you recall, there was a discussion previously and have been previous discussions about charter amendments that we took the position that they weren't they were in conflict with state law and advised the city council of that. If that was to come to pass, then we would have that discussion at the city council. We don't know whether that's going to be the case yet with regard to the sufficiency of the petition papers. I have, in collaboration with my colleague, Mr. Zuniga, who's also here from the city attorney's office, have reviewed the sections of the charter amendment. And I have advised you during this meeting as to our concerns about that language. And our plan, if the charter amendment does appear on the ballot and if it is approved, we would be back before you seeking to discuss 4.04 again. We don't see concerns with the other parts of it, other than that there will need to be subsequent steps taken. But with regard to the durability of 4.04, we think it's worthy of additional discussion.
So my question wasn't answered.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The city council has no options other than assuming all of that works out. All of it's correct. They really don't have any options, and neither do we. We just start the time and they verify the efficacy of it and they start the time and put it on the ballot, and that's the end of it.
So chair and members, under this particular process, if the petition is found to be sufficient and it's constitutional, then the council sets the form of the ballot. It is largely a ministerial act. If there is concern that those requirements are not met, then there is more discussion.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. And I suspect we'll be back in August.
Hey, any other items for the meeting tonight? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn? So moved. It's been moved and seconded, moved by Thorson, seconded by Extel. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the motion carries unanimously.